This is Lisa from Mobile Tech Review, and it's Smackdown time. I asked if you folks wanted it, and you said you did. I recently reviewed the Dell XPS 13 model 9370, which you can call the 2018 Dell XPS 13 or the new XPS 13, except Dell calls whatever comes out in any given year the new XPS 13, so that gets to be pretty meaningless after a while. Anyway, that's this one right here, the one in the rose gold exterior, and the existing model that came out in late 2017, which is the Dell XPS 13 9360, or the Dell XPS 13 not new, if you're looking at Dell's website. There's $200 price difference between them. So which one should you buy? We're going to find out now. All right, so here's what you need to know. And if you watched my review of the new XPS 13, the 9370, you know some of this already. It has had a redesign, yes it has, but it doesn't look a whole lot different. So if you like the existing XPS 13 look, well, you're in luck, aren't you? And you know, they have still a pretty good design here. So they just did a few things. The thinnification. Okay, so this is an in thing. They're not the only ones doing it. There's the 12-inch MacBook, there's the HP Spectre 13, there's the Asus ZenBook 3 Deluxe, the super skinny ones. That's shoe ports, and instead say, let's make it as thin and light as we can. Now the XPS 13 also already has one of the smallest footprints of any 13.3-inch laptop on the market. So those dimensions have not changed very much. So what do you get for your extra $200? It's not just the thinnification of it. It's 11.6 millimeters versus 15 millimeters. You get a faster laptop. Now, it's still the same Intel 8th generation Kaby Lake R quad-core 15 watts U series CPU. So that tells you the performance difference isn't night and day different. But what they did is they improved the cooling on it so they could actually run it at a higher wattage above the stock 15 watts for bursts, for periods of time. So yeah, it does actually show up on benchmarks as being faster. Okay, that matters to you if you do really heavy lifting with your laptop, so to speak, already. If you're just doing Word, Excel, streaming Netflix, social media, it's a waste to actually worry about anything faster than your standard 9360 old school Dell XPS, honestly. But for those of you who are really pushing the envelope with these laptops and doing things that might even be better done with more powerful and larger laptops, say like editing 1080p and 4K video a whole lot of the time, you're going to school and you're starting in CAD and some 3D rendering kind of work, those sorts of things that really push it. If you're doing scientific stuff, computation and all that kind of thing, but you don't want to move up to a higher wattage laptop, then that little extra push, you will notice it. If you're an everyday user, you won't so much. But it's nice. It's a little bit future-proof. And you can see the performance graphs. It does show up there on benchmarks, and in real world, only if you're doing those more challenging tasks. Either way, you're getting anywhere from 4 to 16 gigs of DDR3 low-power RAM. There's 4, 8, and 16 gig options for both of these, and fast PCIe NVMe SSDs, the fastest kind you can get, except for the base 128 gig models on both of these. So that stuff is at parity. Now, the improvement even shows through with the Intel HD 620 integrated graphics a little bit in some of the benchmarks, as you can see too, because that's also getting a little extra wattage going there for a little bit of extra performance. So there you have it. The next thing is it does run a little cooler and a little quieter, cooler to the touch, and the fans. It has a new dual fan system versus the single fan system in the old one. And I mean, it doesn't change the CPU temperatures that much because we have thermals, and you can see our 9370 review to see that in detail. Both CPUs can get very hot, the cores inside, but the new Gore or Gore-Tex insulation that they're using to try to keep the heat away from you is fairly effective, and the two fans run together more efficiently and more quietly, so it's a little quieter. Now, when it comes to coil whine, this is a new motherboard in the 9370, and Dell claims to have improved the coil whine situation. Now, just so you know, you Dell aficionados think this is a Dell-only problem. It's not. It's common in a lot of laptops, particularly when it's charging. You might hear a little bit of a whine coming from the laptop. In the old days when we had noisy spinning hard drives and louder, bigger fans, you just didn't notice it. It probably was always there then, too. So potentially, the 9370 would be quieter in terms of coil whine, too, but no guarantee. Next thing is you get more Thunderbolt 3 and USB-C ports. Well, because you lose the USB-A ports. Our old friend here had 2 USB-A ports. The new one has only USB-C/Thunderbolt 3 ports, and in fact, they give you a USB-C to USB-A dongle adapter, so you just don't stare like a deer in the headlights when you get it home and you can't even plug in your external hard drive to do a restore of your files from your old laptop. So 2 Thunderbolt 3 ports and one USB-C port on the 9370, the new XPS 13. The old one had one Thunderbolt 3 port, which of course can also do USB-C. Now, one important thing to note, the charger does use one of those Thunderbolt 3/USB-C ports, so that diminishes the number of those ports you can actually use at any given time on the 9370. But you've got enough to work with there, and there's docks and port splitters for USB-C and stuff, so that's okay. The more interesting thing here for you enthusiasts, that small number of people out there who really plan to plug in an external graphics amplifier and a desktop video card inside of that amplifier, is you have 4 lanes, PCIe lanes of Thunderbolt 3 in the new 9370 40 gigabit per second versus 2 on the old one. If you're never going to plug in an external GPU box, it probably doesn't matter, honestly. But for those of you who are thinking about doing that, when it comes to the displays, both of these are available with 1920 by 1080 full HD displays. And with the older model, the next step up in resolution was QHD+, which is 3200 by 1800, not quite 4K resolution. Sharp IGZO display. With our new model, you have that 1080p display and you have a 4K option. So 4K is 3840 by 2160, so you see the difference in the numbers there. It's also a nicer display. The colors are more accurate on it, particularly. That's what I like about it the best. A little bit more color gamut there, not a whole lot, but particularly that sickly blue-green look that IGZO displays often has, and that kind of messes up the color accuracy. Much, much better with the newer model. So why would you want to go with the older model? Well, obviously USB-A ports are still something that many of us use every day. And this one is up to you, because are you somebody who's always plugging in peripherals to your laptop? Or are you one of those people who actually doesn't? There are some of each of you, so this is your decision to make. But I'll tell you, there's still really no USB-C mice, no USB-C plug-in keyboards. USB-C flash drives are not that common, all of that sort of thing. So there's still a place for those ports, certainly there. Both of these can drive an external monitor via the USB-C port, the USB-C to display port, USB-C to HDMI. You get the idea. So they can both do that anyway. Full-size SD card slot on the legacy model, shall we say, is still pretty handy for those of you who are professional photographers and videographers, because, well, those are what standalone DSLR cameras and mirrorless cameras are using these days, and it's easier to find a card that's fast enough, say, for 4K video recording without breaking the bank if you're looking at a full-size SD card. It's a little bit harder to find the super fast one still in micro format, and you're going to be paying more money for it. But if you're only looking to get content off of your Android phone's micro SD card, then the 9370 could be fine for you. Then there's battery life. That's the price we pay for this thinnification. Less room for a battery. 52 watt hour in the new XPS 13 and a 60 watt hour battery in the older model. So 8 watt hours is a significant percentage there, and it translates into 1 to 2 hours more battery life. Now, the XPS 13 line is an Energizer Bunny. It has great battery life no matter what. But still, I'm talking about 8 hours of battery life, 7 to 8 hours on the new model with the 4K display versus closer to 10 hours, 9 to 10 hours with the older model and the QHD Plus display. For the full HD models, about 12 hours for the new one and about 14 hours for the old one. So if you're somebody who's away from a power outlet a lot of the time, that'll make a difference. Either way, though, you can obviously spend a lot of time away from the power outlet. While I might not care that much about how darn skinny it is when they're both very skinny, one nice thing, and something I do care about, and a lot of people do who carry these around in backpacks either to work or to school or trade shows like I do, is that the new one is lighter. For the touchscreen model only. There used to be a difference in weight between the touch and the non-touch models in the 9360 line. Well, no matter which way you fly now, and I do like touchscreens in my small laptops, it's going to be the same weight now, which is the same weight as the 9360 non-touch model. So shaving off a little bit of weight there, I do appreciate. Lastly, not the most important thing in the world when you're talking about small chargers, but even the charger has gotten smaller here for the newer model too, so a bit less in terms of size and weight of what you're carrying around. They both output the same 45 watts, they just managed to make it even smaller. Both of them are compatible with Dell's external battery packs. This one here is the 65 watt hour. It plugs into the USB-C port. With the 9360, even though it comes with the barrel pin connector charger, you can charge it via USB-C or with that barrel pin connector. So this is compatible with both models. Now, if you like the look of the woven white interior and the rose gold exterior, you're going to have to go with the 9370 model because that's only available in the new 9370 XPS 13. If you don't like this, however, you can still get it in the traditional dark silvery gray exterior aluminum finish and the carbon fiber black interior. The carbon fiber black interior feels better. looks a little classier, but it shows fingerprints like crazy. So it depends. That's personal preference. That one's up to you. Dell gives you the choice there. So there you have it, pros and cons for each of these models. Like I said, Dell was very smart to keep them both alive, so they're both options for you. Some people like the thin, the light. They don't care much about ports, but they want something that's fast and that looks awful darn pretty with two different color options, and that's why we have the new XPS 13. The existing one is still a real solid workhorse and performer, and goodness knows at 15 millimeters, it's not really a thick laptop anyway, but the pro for that one is you get some legacy ports, the USB-A ports on there, and a full-size SD card slot, and you save $200 too. So there you have it. I'm Lisa from Mobile Tech Review. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel for more cool tech videos, and thumbs up if you like this vid.